Welcome to my anonymous friend. Now here are your hosts, Tammy Cox and Jennifer McCullum.
October 1st, 2017, the day you almost died.
Janny Copeland, please bring us back to that experience that you'll never forget, the day that changed your life forever.
Well, we were on the third day of a very long and very fun Vegas weekend. And if you've had one of those weekends in Vegas, you know that the last day is you're exhausted, but ready to do it all one more time. And we were actually a little late getting there to get our spot because we pushed our way to the front every night. And
So there was a concert for how many nights?
yes, so this was the Route 91 Country Music Festival in Vegas. So it was a 3-day concert. Jason Aldean was headlining.
Concert. So tell us a little about, there's day 1, day 2, day 3. Give us a little rundown of each day leading up.
So every day it's an all-day thing going to like 11, 12 p.m. at night. So the headliner plays at night. And we got there probably around 4 or 5 p.m. every day. We pushed our way to the front every night because that's really the only way to see a concert, in my opinion, is to push your way to the front.
That's course.
So that's all.
The Janny way.
We were all about it. Yes, absolutely. Saturday night, Friday night was awesome. I don't remember a ton about Friday night because we were in Vegas, first night in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Don't remember a ton. Saturday night was by far our favorite night for obvious reasons to come later. But Saturday night was Sam Hunt. We had magical, just a totally awesome night. And I've heard many people, many survivors talk about Saturday night. I don't know what it was about it, but we just had the best time ever. And I remember even saying, like, it's going to be hard to top Saturday night. It's just
like,
not
what were
gonna
you
happen.
feeling? What were you feeling Saturday night? Like your feelings, what were you smelling? What was just the vibe of that night?
What was your experience?
Well, first of all, I had on the most amazing dress ever. So there's that. So I was
What
feeling
colors?
amazing.
What colors was it?
I had on a short, white, flowy hippie dress, and just total random fact, but I also wore the same dress in Vegas for my 30th birthday, and I felt amazing that night, and I was like, I'm going to wear the white hippie dress and my big old teal boots, and my hair was
the teal boots.
Cowboy
teal
boots.
Cowgirl boots.
Cowgirl.
I love those boots.
Well, I did have to throw them in a dumpster after Stagecoach a year later because they almost killed me, but that's a whole other podcast though.
Yes.
But we were drinking cocktails out of glass boot-shaped mason jars. It was just...
You brought them in there?
No, we bought them there. They were the most overpriced cocktails of all time. I think they were
How much did you spend on those cocktails?
They were like $200.
They were probably like $26, and we're talking like 10 ounces of watered down cocktail, but they were in glass shaped mason jars, and they had little pink plastic cowboy hat lids, and you just can't beat that. So
we're envisioning them now.
Yes. What did you drink? What were you drinking that night?
Oh, what wasn't I drinking that night? I don't know, probably some tropical cocktail, vodka, cranberry, fruit punch. I don't even know.
Yeah, you were.
I couldn't even tell you. And whatever minis I had snuck under my boobs,
which were probably at least 10. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I probably had a few. I'm also really, really, really good at sneaking alcohol into venues.
That's why I asked you.
I know you are.
I was like, what were you drinking?
You are, you little hussy.
I mean, I invented some of those moves back in the
you
when
should
I was
like invent a bra that you can fill up with alcohol.
I'm sorry, and I'm sorry for people listening to this that just don't have the kind of hoots that are going to hold the mini bottles underneath them. But you got to have.
They could.
Mine holds pencils.
Really could.
Mine holds pencils.
Yeah, me too.
No, yours doesn't.
Right underneath.
Yes.
No, I feel like Tammy's been working out. I don't know when the last time you saw her, Janny, but Tammy be looking good. Okay, because I saw her all summer in a swimsuit. So I feel like Tammy's boobs wouldn't hold up shit.
My boobs can hold up
I know.
pencils, mofo.
I know that they can.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's been gaining a lot of muscle, like defining, looking good.
Well, I've been gaining a lot of lard, so
Stop it.
It doesn't
now.
fit the same way as muscle, but it's fine.
Oh, I've been eating cheeseburgers and cupcakes. Okay,
But let's get back to the good stuff.
The good stuff.
The good stuff.
Hey,
Where did you stuff all your alcohol for your concerts?
I was just going to say, though, I starved myself for a good 6 weeks before that trip, and I was feeling good about myself.
I don't like the way you do that, but that's okay.
I don't
To each their own.
I do that a lot, and then it gains right back.
I'm not saying it's a good plan. I'm just saying that's what I did.
That's what you did
back then. And I was looking my best I have in years, and I was feeling amazing in that little hippie dress. And yeah, so Saturday night was amazing. Sunday, I will say, and this is something I kind of forget about, but so I was there with Lauren, my best friend, her husband, and then my husband stayed home with the kids. So it was like the three of us, and then a bunch of their friends. At the time, I didn't really know any of them, but we were staying together in the room, and we were like the little three amigos pretty much the whole weekend.
And you're really close. Like, how long have you known them?
At this point?
It had been about 2.5 years at that point.
Okay.
And we hung out all the time. Our families were really close already. And a year prior, when I wasn't as close to her, she was going to that same exact festival the year before. And she was like, next year, I remember her calling me or videoing me or something from Route 91 2016. And she was like, next year you have to come. Wow. And I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm coming next year. So it was a plan the whole year I was going to go.
Wow. And you're probably the funnest person to go to a concert with, like legit. You and music, it's just like a big party. So that's why I can only imagine the vibe that you had,
for sure.
So Sunday was good though.
And I remember Sunday was good, but here's something that's kind of weird. I remember that morning, and we slept in because, Saturday night was the best night ever, and we slept in really late. And I remember when I woke up, I had serious anxiety, and it's one of those things you look back on later, and we talked about it that day at lunchtime. We're like wandering around, just kind of hanging out, chilling out, shopping, whatever. And we both kind of vocalized the fact that we were really anxious and we didn't know why. And we chalked it up to like hangover, because you can feel that like hangover anxiety, and you can't even, you don't even know what it's for. And it might have been that.
What time did you wake up at?
I don't know, probably like 10:30, 11.
Okay. So this was okay.
And then you're feeling kind of weird. You're kind of feeling uneasy. Like, what's this all about? What am I thinking about?
And we both felt that way until we started drinking some champagne, and then we felt better because, that's what happens when you drink champagne. Yeah. But we talked about it in more detail after what happened. We talked about we both felt so much anxiety. And then, we went and played roulette, and actually, I was worried we weren't even going to make it to the concert that night because Lauren was winning. Noble was having a great time.
It goes when she wins.
So is that your guys' favorite thing to do down there when you're down there is gamble? Is that what they love?
I don't gamble a whole lot. I just like to go out and walk around. And
when Lauren's on a winning streak, it's like Lauren's a mutual friend that we have. Just to give a little backstory, it's a mutual friend that we have, and when she's winning, you can't just walk away. So,
well, I remember walking up to her at the tables. Like, I left for a little bit, came back. She was still I went up to the room to get ready. I was like, I'm gonna go get ready because I knew. I was going to do the whole last night in Vegas, makeup, hair, the whole thing. So I went upstairs, got ready. I came back down to the casino, and we were staying at Harrah's, and they were still exactly where I left them at the roulette table. And it was, I don't know what time it was. It was probably like 4 or 5 p.m. already. And the previous nights we had already been down there at the concert grounds at this point. So we weren't even like, they weren't even changed or ready. And I was like, are we going to go? And to be honest with you, I wasn't a huge fan. Like I got everything I wanted to out of it at that point. Saturday was so much fun.
Yeah, you said Saturday was
Friday
just
was
the
so
best
fun.
day ever.
So I was like, I would have been fine just hanging out, doing whatever. So they went up and got ready. And then we got in the Uber line and we went down there. And that was the beginning of it.
Okay, so you're entering into the concert for the third day. It's Sunday, the very last day.
What time was it when you were entering?
Yeah, what time did you actually go in?
It was probably around 6 when we got there. Yeah.
Okay. And did they end up getting ready? Because I think you cut out for just a split second, but did they end up going up and getting ready?
Yeah.
Or did they just come straight out?
No, they went up to the room, got ready, and then we all went down and got in the taxi line.
Okay. So
and we went, and we got, actually we had to take 2 separate like taxis. We got separated. Then we got there, we met back up. We went to the merch tent. We bought shirts. We had our stuff. We went into the first music tent. Like, it's still fully daylight at this point. We got there. We
what
met
were
up
you
with
wearing? What
everybody
were you
else.
wearing?
What was I wearing on the last day? I was wearing a jean skirt, and I was wearing a black tank top and a blue and black checkered, like buffalo plaid, like flannel, tied in a cute little knot. And no, I wasn't wearing a jean skirt. I was wearing jean shorts.
Jean shorts. Okay.
Yeah.
And what shoes did you have on?
I was wearing flat boots that night, which was another crazy thing that I'm so glad, because the second night I wore those god awful teal heel cowboy boots.
Oh.
And there is no way in heck I could have run in those suckers. They were very costume boots, like cute but not functional.
Okay.
And the last night I was wearing flat, zip up the side, like gray cowboy boots that had a flat heel, and they were very I could walk a mile in those. And so I was wearing those that night.
So the three of you walk into the venue, right? And it's about, what would you say, 6 o'clock?
Yeah, about 6 o'clock. We head to the merch tent. We head to the next to Nashville tent, which was like the smaller, much, much smaller people were in there. Mm-hmm. It was still a huge tent, but like nothing compared to the main stage. So they had separate artists going in that tent all the time. We watched a few people in there. I think we went and got food. There was a whole line of like food tents, kind of like the county fair or something, like through the middle of the place.
Do you remember what you were eating?
I just remember everything was super over, like $1 million for a turkey leg or whatever. Yeah. So I don't really remember. Actually, I remember we went to this double-decker state like bar.
Okay.
And we met up with one of my friends, Rochelle from high school, was up there with her husband, and we hung out with them, and they had like a line dancing thing going on. And
fun.
We were line dancing. So
there's
for a while,
multiple. I didn't realize that there was like multiple artists singing at the event.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yes. And weirdly enough, I was looking at an old flyer not even 2 months ago of the lineup of the entire weekend. And at the time, I didn't know over half the people that were there. But Morgan Wallen was playing in the smaller, like up and comers tent on Saturday. And now I'm like, a huge,
I know
like,
you are
mega Morgan Wallen fan.
So then go ahead and take us into the action. Like, take us into, so you're in the smaller tent. Take us into the actual shooting.
So it was, by the time it had gotten dark, we had actually pushed our way kind of near the front, and then we decided to leave
and
to
what's
go
the
here.
What's the time frame if you came in at
This
6?
is at the point that it was dark and we were at the main stage. It was probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And we left to go back to the small tent to hear, actually it was, oh my gosh, I'm brain farting on his name. Super huge. Luke Combs, who's really huge now. He was playing in the smaller up and comers tent. We went to go hear him. And there was a girl named Amanda. We had met her in Vegas that weekend, and I actually sold her. I went to Vegas with an extra wristband. A good friend of mine was supposed to be with us that weekend, and she ended up being pregnant, high risk, very, very random that she even got pregnant. And that's the reason why she wasn't able to go and use her ticket. So we went to Vegas with an extra ticket. We met this girl, Amanda. We were hanging out with her the first or the second night. And then the third night she was with us. She was kind of by herself. So we were with her. We were standing at the Luke
By
Combs
yourself
tent.
in Vegas. Oh, I would
Yeah.
not.
Well, she is an awesome kind of like just a free spirit. So I now know this about her, but then, yeah, we just kind of took her in because she was by herself. But we were still at the smaller tent at this point. Amanda wanted to hear this Luke Combs song that hadn't come on yet. And me and Lauren were anxious to get back to the main stage where Jason Aldean was going to come on. So we separated from her and we said, meet us. We'll be at the same spot we've been the last couple nights. So just come meet us when you're ready. So we go back to the main stage and we do push our way back to the front.
And you're with Noble at this point, correct?
Yes.
So
yes.
Lauren and Noble.
Yes. And if you're looking at the stage, I know a lot of people have seen pictures of like the still shots of that night. If you're looking at the stage and the Mandalay Bay is to your right, we were in the section closest to the Mandalay Bay and right up near the stage. So we pushed our way back over there. And there was this moment of time in between each artist where they would play loud music, like just hits, like songs everybody knew while you're waiting for the next artist to set up. So
so like not their actual songs, but someone else's song.
Right. And they actually played I think it was one or two songs before Jason started. I don't know exactly, but they played Phil Collins' Something in the Air Tonight, which is just eerie looking back at it because there's 22,000 people standing there in the dark, drinking and having the greatest time with their friends, family, whoever they came with, and we're all singing along. We sang Journey. There was Journey songs that came on. It was just the best environment I can describe. And for somebody like me, it was just so much fun. Like we were just like, this is amazing. We're here. We're in Vegas. We're about to hear, we got one more good show before we call it a weekend. And then Jason starts, everybody's cheering. I don't know how many songs exactly. I do remember one of the last things I remember that was normal was we ran out of drinks. So we were pretty close to the closest little mini bar. There was like these little pop-up bars set up all around. And we were very close to the edge of the grass where the asphalt met the grass. And there was a little bar right there. So we pushed our way through. We get another, and actually it was just me and Amanda. Lauren and Noble stayed on the grass. Me and Amanda went to get drinks for us.
Oh, so Amanda ended up meeting you guys.
Yes, she did. She
perfect. And what time was this about when he came on with this first song?
This is probably.
Janny, you're breaking up a little bit.
Is that better?
Okay, what did you say?
9:45. Because we had just gotten drinks. Me and Amanda are standing at the bar, very crowded bar. They're, you're yelling your drinks, whatever. I had a bag with shirts that I bought, Route 91 merch shirts. And we were standing at the bar and I was sick of holding this bag. I was like trying to hold Lauren's drink, my drink, this stupid bag. And Amanda said, just put your bag in my purse. And I was hesitant about it. And she's like, it's not like if we get separated, it's not like I won't get it to you, which was just so insignificant sounding. But looking back at it, that's exactly what happened.
All these signs,
all these little things.
Of stuff going.
I shoved my merch bag in her purse And then we got our drinks and we pushed our way back to Lauren and Noble. And the reason I say that was probably about 9:45 is because we had like 3/4 full drinks when it all started happening. And I'll go back and explain that. But I remember dropping an almost full drink on the grass, like knowingly dropping it, like just dropping it. And that was, so that's why I think that was probably about 9:45. But I just remember we heard Any Old Barstool. And I don't remember hearing anything during that song. Now, based on video footage and audio footage, the first few shots did go off near the end of that song. And we know it was at the end of that song because it didn't stop the music or anything. He started the next song.
What did it sound like to you though when you were hearing it?
And what did it hear? She didn't hear it.
Well, those first few shots, I did not hear. The only thing I heard was later in the days that followed, like when people played audio.
She heard it in other people's footage, but she didn't hear it for herself. Yeah. So when did you, Janny, actually hear the shots fired?
So the next song was When She Says Baby, that he started playing that song. And it was...
So it was the very next song, and how far into it?
It was the very next song. And I don't even remember, just based on what people say and based on the fact that the first few shots were at the end of the last song. I'm pretty sure it was near the beginning, but that my memory doesn't really even remember the song. I just remember hearing the fireworks. And I say that because, and a lot of people remember it this way, but for me, it was fireworks. It was like, what the hell? In the very beginning, it was just annoying, but it sounded so close that it freaked me out. I was like, what the heck? Like, I just figured some drunk person. And because we were so close to the edge of the grass where there was kind of a walkway, and like I said, this is the very closest part of the crowd to where the Mandalay Bay, which we later, knew that's where the shooter was shooting from. We were the very closest section of people to that window. So it sounded very, very close.
So when you started hearing that, like,
it was the loudest to you, obviously.
It was very loud, and I wasn't scared at first. It just was irritating. It was like when it happened,
like annoying, like it was interrupting the song or the concert.
And I thought, he kept playing, and then I thought, like, oh my gosh, like someone has actual fireworks inside, and there was nothing lighting up the sky. They weren't like pretty fireworks noise, it was like pop, 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 pop. So I was like, this could be bad. This could like end the concert, so I was more just annoyed, but that was the initial reaction.
Right.
And then there was a few seconds, I guess, where there was nothing, and everybody was just kind of like, what the hell? And you got to remember, like, everybody's been drinking pretty much all day. So we're just like, what? Like, everyone's like, some people didn't even react to it. They're just singing because Jason Aldean did not stop singing at that point. And then it happened again. And at that point...
So there was a pause then?
There was a pause, and then it...
How long would you say, if you were to guess, how long would that pause be?
In my memory, maybe like 7 or 8 seconds. Not very long. Long enough to be like, what the hell was that? And
bam, again.
What's happening? And then it happened again. And Noble was standing behind me and Lauren. So we're kind of like diagonally like facing the stage, and he was standing behind us because he's taller than both of us. So he kind of was just standing behind us. And most of the night, and in most of the pictures that I have, he has at least one, if not both hands, like up in the air. He's always like got a hand in the air. Mm-hmm. So, but when the noise started, we both turned around and were kind of looking at him, like, and looking at everybody, like, what the hell, what was that noise? And then he said, I just got shot. And he's looking down at his, like, that's when I remember seeing blood, like, for the first time. There was blood all over his hand and his arm. And then it happened again, like the noise. And then he yelled, probably more like screamed at us to get down. And a lot of people got down, like, all at the same time. It was like a mass drop to the ground. And we hit the ground.
Okay, and did you just like sit there for what did you do right when you hit the ground? Like what were you guys saying to each other? What did you feel?
We didn't say anything. We just hit the ground and I laid down. Lauren was kind of like maybe a foot to my left. So when I laid down, I remember grabbing her boot with my left arm and I just grabbed around her leg and then I laid down. And
what
then
position did you lay in, do you feel like? Was it like face to the ground, knees to the ground, like a fetal
I
position? Like,
think I was
did you
kind
lay
of, yeah,
flat?
I was like no, I didn't lay flat. I think I was just like in the fetal position and I had Lauren's boot with my left arm, like wrapped around her foot. So I like wouldn't lose her because there was so many people. We were all just like, just
Yeah, was
hit.
people running and jumping over each other?
So your fear was not only to skip out on the bullets, but also to stay connected
Just to stay
them.
together.
Yeah.
How was it with everybody
together.
around? Were they jumping around? Were they screaming everywhere, going different places?
Well, I didn't look up for probably, I don't even know. I could have been 30 seconds. It could have been 3 minutes.
But
I don't
you can
remember
kind
when
of feel, right, though?
yeah.
If everyone was going to the ground, wouldn't you kind of feel that?
Well, everybody where we were hit the ground. When I finally looked up, and I didn't look up until there was a quiet moment, and it felt like a very long time, but looking through footage and documents later, like it was 11 minutes that we were on the ground. It was crazy. But the first time I remember looking up, I just remember seeing a huge just movement, like a massive amount of people running. And they were not the people where we were. The people where we
would
were
you say, okay,
put.
so you feel like you guys were all laying down for the same amount of time and then you sort of all popped up at the same time and ran?
No, we didn't run. I remember looking up to see like what the hell is going on. And I could see a ton of people like on the other side of the stage and the other side of the crowd. That's where all of the exits were. So when I popped my head up to like see, it was quiet for however long to see what was happening. All I could see was a ton of people running. And I remember thinking in my head, I wish we could run, but we were nowhere near the exits.
So you felt helpless during that moment.
Because those people were by the exits. We would have had to run across the entire field first of open duck.
And at this point in time, Janny, you didn't know where the bullets were coming from. You had no idea what direction. So for you, because obviously from our viewpoint, we're like, why don't you go towards the stage and hide behind the stage? Yeah. But for you guys, you didn't know where the bullets were coming from. So you didn't even know where to hide.
What did you do?
Well, we popped our, like the bullets kept coming. So there'd be like some quiet and then it would start up again and we would hit the ground again. At one point, I remember there being a guy on, I think he was on all fours or maybe he was covering somebody, but there was a space in between his chest and the ground. And at one point I crawl and I wasn't holding onto Lauren's boot anymore because I remember crawling under him because there was a space and I was like, okay, I'm crawling under somebody, but it is what it is. Like that's probably the first time I really thought like I might not get out of here because we thought there was shooters or terrorists or people with dark hooded sweatshirts walking around just shooting people. So I was like, I have to hide. So we did that for all the different rounds of gunfire and it lasted for 11 minutes. And then when we kind of started to realize like, okay, maybe this is the end, maybe they got him. At one point I do remember yelling like, why aren't the police stopping him? Like, where are the police? How can this go on for this long? It felt like forever.
Right.
And then we saw some people. We were so close to backstage too, the backstage gates.
Oh, so
there were people like waving, like come on, like waving their hands. Yeah. And then we kind of like, we're staying low to the ground, but we kind of started like hunch over, like running. And then I remember we thought we heard something again. I don't think it was gunfire anymore, but I think we were just so like
traumatized. Yeah.
So we hit the ground. I remember hitting the ground again just for very quick. And then nothing happened. And they said, come on, come on, come on. And so a whole big group of us ran and we went back behind the gates that, you know, nobody's allowed back there, but this is a whole different thing. Like they're letting whoever back there. So we all ran back there. And that's the first time that, oh, and I do remember, this is random, Amanda's backpack was like a really bright Kate Spade purse backpack, very distinctive looking. And I remember seeing it on the grass, but I didn't see her. But there were people on the ground, and I didn't even have time to process it at the time, but there was people that didn't get up off the ground because there was a lot of people in that area that had died. Like because that first wave of gunfire
and they just
was
weren't moving.
Just because that spot was, it was a thick spot of.
It was like a hot zone of. So we ran back behind the
Did
gates.
You grab her purse or no?
And obviously you didn't see Amanda at this point.
No, but you know what? It's weird. I was holding, Lauren had my right hand. I remember because, and she had Noble's probably left. Yeah, she had his left hand. She had my right hand.
Yeah,
and
because
she was pulling me.
Yeah, because when did the tourniquet get put on Noble's arm?
That wasn't until we were back in the side of the backstage area. But okay. I did see Amanda's purse, and I remember feeling like, should I grab it? It was weird because like she's not with it, but like I know that's her purse. And I was holding Lauren's hand, and she was already kind of running, and I was attached to her. And I would have had to I remember it was like a decision. I remember the feeling like I would have had to let go of her hand and only move about 2 feet to my left, and I could have grabbed Amanda's purse. But I didn't because
it wasn't worth it at that point. At that point,
it wasn't worth letting go of her hand.
Right.
No.
Yeah. At that point, you knew that you needed to stay with Lauren. That was the most important thing, and the purse was not.
So we got backstage, and I remember there was like a big wall, and that we were like kind of behind it, and we hadn't heard any shots in probably at this point it's probably been about 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. We hadn't heard anything, and that was the biggest space of time so far. So we're hoping it's over, but we don't know. And that was when I grabbed my phone to send out. I don't remember if I made a phone call first or if I started texting people, but I started texting my family and some close friends. And I remember thinking like, this is how people must have felt like on 9/11 when they were trying to just get out one more message. And I literally felt that way. I was like, I don't know if.
Yeah, we want to know who know who the first messenger call was to.
I sent Lucas a message, and I don't remember if I tried calling him
because I was going to say it must be your husband.
Your husband.
It must be your husband and your kids that you attempted to reach out to first.
Yeah, and I have a texting history, like those saved messages that I texted him. I texted my stepmom and my dad because I knew she would be up late, and I didn't text my mom because my mom goes to bed early, and I just knew that I might only have seconds, or I just knew that I had to try to get a hold of who's going to be awake.
Right.
And then I sent a text to, I had a very active group chat with Kelsey, Olam, and Marina, and I sent them.
So it was like, it's interesting because you felt this urgency to text people who could reach back out to you, right? Not to give one last message. So it's almost as if you, like, did you have the feelings of, oh, this is the last message I'm sending out? Or did you have feelings of, I need closure. I need contact? Or what were the feelings going through your head? Because you obviously reached out to people that you thought would be awake and seeing your message in real time.
I think it was both. I think it was contact, but I think it was, I needed to hear from somebody. Like I knew that I might not have much time, and I needed to know I guess I just wanted to hear who's going to be awake. And then, I'm a huge true crime fan. So I know that like, there's people that wonder like what happened, what were the last moment, not that I had time to really think about.
You just wanted to give all those fans a little
I would have done the
up
same
with your
thing,
last
Janny.
moments.
Hey, you gotta
silly girl.
You gotta appreciate the true crime fans. So anyway,
so what did you say though to them? What were your words?
Well, I have a folder that I can read it to you.
Yeah. I want to hear it.
I at least want to hear the first message to your husband and kids.
Okay, so I have. Yeah, I just remember. Oh, and another thing while I'm looking for this, my hands at this point, I just remember feeling like, imagine if you ate 3 spoonfuls of beach sand and you were gasping for breath. Like that is how I remember feeling. Like we were just so adrenaline, fear, breathing in and out, like gasping for running. Like my hands were shaking so hard I could barely type, and it's evident in the screenshots of my text messages because they didn't make a ton of sense.
Which is unusual for you. It's not for me.
Yeah, like I'll send you.
Jenny's text messages are typically super elaborate, and she's, well, mine are like,
so
gerbil writing.
Here's a time reference for you too. The text I sent to Lucas, and it was the first text I sent, was 10:17 p.m. The shooting started at 10:04 or 10:02. It's either 10:02 or 10:04 is when it started, and then it lasted 11 minutes. And then I sent him this text at 10:17. So really, really soon after those 11 minutes, I said, "There's a shooting here. I love you so much. The shooter, it didn't make sense, is still, but I was saying the shooter is still here. Please pray. I've never been so scared in my life. Please call me." And then the next time I got a hold of him by text anyway was 11:39 p.m. I did have one phone conversation with him in between, but
did he get this right away though? He didn't then.
I would say I talked to him within like 10 or 15 minutes. So he goes to bed. He's not a night owl like me. Yeah. He was asleep, I'm sure. So, and I can't remember. I know I tried calling him too. So at some point, the time I remember talking to him, we were hiding behind a dumpster. It was probably a good 15 minutes later, but.
Okay, and so take us to that point. You're hiding behind the dumpster. Because
I want to know where you're at that point. Like they pulled you behind backstage. You're behind the wall. Now what?
So we're backstage. I think maybe when I was looking down at my phone and sending these messages, that might have been when Noble was getting it. That's around the time he got his tourniquet. I don't remember seeing it be put on him.
So he was just losing blood this entire time.
Yeah.
What was his feelings like? Was he going through pain? Was adrenaline rushing? What was going through his mind? Being shot, like that's like a big thing.
I think he was going through pain, but I think he was in major shock too. He was still very awake and able to walk at this point because the only time I ever got separated from them since the shooting started was, and it was very dark back there. They turned off the lights for a while. And it was very dark. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Like it was so dark back there.
Do you know why they did that? Was that
no idea.
The shooter couldn't see or?
No idea. Because there was times where they turned them on. Like I swear they were on during the shooting. And then like after they were on still. And then all of a sudden they were off. And my memory might be forgetting all the lights. I just remember when we were back there, I remember it was so dark and there were so many people back there, and there was people that were not gone yet that were not going to make it. And there was people screaming and crying and yelling, and it was just chaos.
Where did he get shot at? Where was he shot at? The hand?
He was shot in his hand.
in his hands, and it like severed his artery in his wrist.
Okay, so right in his wrist, right there.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know where he got shot at. So there, you hear screaming, you see people that are not going to be making it.
There's all this screaming, and during some of this time, like that's where Lauren's story takes a different turn than mine, because at some point she tried to help a couple, she's a nurse. She tried to help a couple people. I don't remember even seeing that. So whether it was when I was trying to hide under the bus, which I'll tell you about, that's the only time I got separated from them. But she remembers trying to give a girl like CPR, and then she was like, her eyes were just complete blank stare at the sky, and she doesn't remember 100%, but she's pretty sure that's one of the people who ended up dying that night. So
Janny, as far as like the gunshots go, you're behind the wall. Is that when you remember the gunshots stopping, or did they continue past that?
No, we never heard them again. By the time we got up to actually run, we never heard them after that, because we waited until there was enough of a lapse where we kind of felt like, okay, we're sitting ducks. There's nothing in front of us. There's nothing to block us. Nothing. We're just literally sitting here in the middle of an open field. So because it had been, I don't know how many minutes, or I'm not sure, but when enough people were like, come on, like run, like that's when we finally decided, okay, we got it.
Okay, so there was no gunshots past that point. So there you go running, you're in the back, and now it's just sort of like survive. So
it was just
that's when Noble gets his tourniquet, and then Lauren starts working on these girls that she thinks could maybe potentially still live. And then what are you doing during this time?
Well, that's when and it was so, like I said, it was so dark back there. I saw people pounding on this like portable room. I think it was like maybe where part of the musicians or the team or the sound people, I don't know, but it was some kind of a little portable like building right on the side of the stage. And there were people frantically yelling and pounding like to let them in. And I saw all the tour buses are back there. So the biggest bus right by closest to the side of the stage, I'm not sure, but I'm only assuming it probably was his tour bus because he was the headliner and it was a huge, gigantic bus. I decide that it would be a really good idea to get under it to hide. And I don't know if I yelled like, come on, let's, but all this, I turned around and no one was behind me. So I don't know if she didn't hear me or if she was like, you crazy bee, I'm not getting under the bus. I don't know.
Who?
All I know,
who?
Lauren, because I got separated from them. So I was by myself and it was so dark. I couldn't see where they were, but I started crawling under this bus. And let me just tell you that despite being as skinny as I had been in years, I wedged myself to about my tailbone, and I felt like I was going to saw myself in half if I got any further. My butt would not get under that thing. It was so close to the ground. I scraped up my back.
That sounds comfy.
This is the part where I had scraped asphalt into my elbows. I had asphalt, little like gravel and like dirt marks that were so deeply ground into my arms, they were there for weeks. Like it was from trying to crawl under that bus.
So you were just in such a state of like fight or flight that you were just like, this is brilliant. Mode. I'm going to wedge myself underneath this bus just in case there's more shots coming.
And I will tell you this, and even in the midst of like horrible, like mind-numbing fear that I've never felt since and hopefully never will again, the picture of, in The Wizard of Oz when the house lands on the witch and her legs are like sticking out from under the house, like I was picturing that. I'm like, I literally am trying to hide and these terrorists are going to walk and see this big white ass legs hanging out from under this bus and then I'm dead. So I decided it was not a good plan. And I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I remember that thought. I was like, I'm like the witch in Wizard of Oz. Like, my legs are just going to be like, they're going to give me away. I can't fit the rest of my body under here. So I started to go back the other way, pushed myself back out. And then I stood up and I got to my feet.
Yeah, and did you find Lauren after that?
I got to my feet, and that's how I remember Noble at this point was still very like lucid, because I don't know how in that dark chaos that they saw me. I don't even remember there being any light. It was just so dark and creepy back there. And then I heard Noble say, like, yell. He yelled to me, like, Janny, get over. Like, he's like, get over here. And then he yelled, and then I ran to them. And then we ran back kind of behind, almost behind the stage. And then that's where he started. He sat down. Lauren was we were just trying to keep him awake. We were like rubbing his arm, rubbing his chest, like, don't go to sleep. Because in every episode of Grey's Anatomy and ER, like, they're not supposed to go to sleep. That's all I know. That's my medical training. I'm like, I just know you're not supposed to go to sleep. And then we saw somebody who looked like maybe a security guard or somebody that worked there. And I remember saying, like, did they get him? Did they get him? And he said, we're working on it. I will never forget it. That's exactly what he said with no emotion. He just said, we're working on it. And I was like, well, that means no. And then I saw a big dumpster, and Lauren was sitting there trying to keep his bleeding under control. He did have a tourniquet at that point. So like I said, I don't remember when he got it, but it was some point in that last 10 minutes. I didn't see it, but I saw a dumpster, and I went and I grabbed it. It was like a big lightweight plastic on wheels kind of dumpster. And I just grabbed it, and I went and I pulled it in front of us, because the whole group of loud screaming, crying, chaos, they were by the bus and by that building, right on the side of the stage.
There was nowhere where you felt like you can like go to get away from it. Like you felt like the best option for you guys at this point was just to stay there until help came, or like, because if you think about it from an outsider perspective, you're thinking just get as far away as possible from the shooters. But you didn't know at this point, am I right, that you didn't know where the shooters were even coming from? So your best bet was just to stay right there. The shooting had stopped, so you're now waiting for help to arrive?
I don't want to speak for them, but in my mind, they were still there, and they were walking around like looking. Maybe they were just shooting people at point blank range. Like, I just thought they were going to be walking around looking for people, and we need to hide. And I remember, I don't think I said it out loud, but I felt guilty. It was one of the many things I felt guilty for afterwards. But I thought, there's so many people screaming and being so loud. And if they find everybody, they're going to kill everybody. We need to get away from this group of screaming loud people, and we just need to hide. So we were probably 15 feet around the corner from the big group. And that's why I pulled the dumpster in front of us. Cause I was like, if they find everybody who's so loud, like, they're going to find us too. And we need to hide. That was the only thought really that I remember having. And then I did have a conversation with Lucas at that point. I got a hold of him on the phone. I said Noble had been shot. And he told me later, he thought, I mean, obviously that's horrible. No matter what, it sounds horrible. But he was thinking like, oh, somebody had a fight. There was a gang shooting, or he got stray bullet. Still, that would be massively horrible. And I said, he's alive. I said right away, I'm like, he got shot. He's alive, but we're hiding, and they haven't gotten the shooter yet. And then he turned on the news at that point. And then I suddenly hung up because we heard something. It was probably just somebody else screaming, but we heard something, and I said, I gotta go. Like, I was like, because I was just like, we gotta be quiet. So at this point,
Janny, you're like hearing people screaming. They're like, what are you hearing around you? What are you experiencing around? What's the vibe like around you?
Just people screaming and
like,
crying.
Is it people screaming from their wounds? Is it people screaming out of terror? Like, what is the?
I think the people nearest to us. I think the people nearest to us that were screaming and crying was because they were watching somebody like die.
Oh, okay.
She said a lot of people back there were just didn't look like they were going to make it.
So maybe they dragged their loved ones back there.
People pulled people and helped like carry them, walk them. And we were back there, I don't know for how long, but at some point, somebody, again, I don't know if it was a security guard or what, but definitely seemed to be somebody of some type of authority, said, if you're injured, you need to get him across the field. There's a triage area set up in the street. If you're not injured, you need to go back this way, which would have been back behind the stage and out some other gate somewhere.
Okay.
If you're injured, you need to go back across the field to triage. So if you're looking at the whole thing from a bird's eye view and you're looking down at the stage, Mandalay Bay's on the right. The street he was talking about is on the left, on the opposite side of the field where the exit gates were.
Okay.
So this guy's telling us, when we had just gotten off of that field where we were sitting ducks for that whole time during the shooting,
right.
He's now telling us that we have to go
through
all the way back across the entire huge field, like a football field, I swear it seemed like, back to get him to triage. And we kind of argued, like, we don't want to, like, back out in the wide open. And I turned around to, surely he can't be telling us to go back out there. And I turned around and whoever had just told us that was gone, like just gone, not there anymore. So me and Lauren, like, looked at each other. Noble was able to kind of like walk, but he was very out of it. We were both one arm around him on either side, kind of like helping him stumble, walk, kind of, he had lost a lot of blood. And we both were absolutely terrified. We just wanted to go back into because behind the stage was just dark, and we just wanted to go back there, but we had to go back across the field. And when we went around the corner to where we had just been minutes before, we saw what was one of those images that you can't get out of your head. Like, there were so many bodies with white, I don't know if they were tarps or tablecloths of some type.
They had already been covered, huh?
Yes, somebody had already walked around and covered bodies with these white cloths or something.
Like, what? How many would you say? Can you even estimate how much?
I feel like I saw at least 7 or 8, but I don't remember. Maybe more. And there was
tell us about Amanda. Was she one of those tarps?
No.
She wasn't.
No, Amanda is alive and well.
Ooh, that's good.
And
so she just got separated from her purse, because I was waiting for that moment, and it took a while for you to give me that relief, Janny. Dang it.
She was injured. She's all of like 100 pounds soaking wet. She was trampled, which she told me later. She was like literally trampled. She had to go to the hospital and everything. But I'm like, well, maybe those people trampling you is what,
they got the shot and you didn't.
Saved you, But so we walked Noble across the field. There was cups, hats, bags, purses, phone, just like everything. More stuff than grass. Because every single person, us included, dropped everything. Right. Like, we had our $26 glass boot cocktails, just dropped them and hit the ground, everybody. So when we walked all the way across, we made it to that triage. And it's at some point, I reached down. Actually, no, this wasn't on the grass. This was later when we were walking down the sidewalk. But at some point, because Amanda had my merch bag with my shirts in it, I saw a like wadded up shirt on the ground, and I don't know why, but I reached down and grabbed it, which fast forward later, when we had nothing but our bloody clothes and ended up at some random motel 40 minutes away, that's all the clean clothes we had to wear. So it was just weird that I happened to reach down and grab that, because why would I care about that? I don't know what made me reach down and grab it, but we would have been in like literally bloody, soaked, dirty clothing all night long. So it was just one of those weird things. But we got Noble into it wasn't even a real ambulance or anything. There was a lot of people in their own cars showing up to take people, to load their car. People were loading up truck beds with injured people. There was a car, and Noble was put into the front seat, passenger seat. There was a guy in the back laying down across the back. I heard later, we think it was like it definitely gunshot, but we don't know if it was like his stomach or it was serious though. He was laying down, and we heard something. Again, it was probably just people screaming because there was no more gunshots, but we heard something that terrified us, and somebody yelled. I don't know. It was just chaos, and nerves were just gone. So we tried to jump in the car. I jumped in the back seat, and the guy driving was like, "I'm just taking injured people. Get out." And I was like, "We're with him. That's her husband. Like, please." We just want to get out of there so bad. And he just screamed at me to get out of the car. And so I got out of the car.
Gosh.
And he shut the doors. And that's when they took Noble. And we knew he was headed to the hospital. So we knew that was the best place for him to be. And that is the point where it was just me and Lauren left right outside the venue.
So she left her husband like that. She had to leave her husband. He made her get out of the car.
Not him, but the guy driving the car was like not having it. He was like, "Get out of it." I mean, he was like yelling at me.
I'm like,
so I was like,
"No, I can't be without him."
Yeah, but Lauren would not insert herself. She's not like that.
Well, nobody else knows that. Like that's so hard to be in that situation.
Bless you. I was like, "Please." He's like, "Get out of it." Like, okay, okay.
So then what do you guys do?
So I remember sitting down on, like, those temporary metal gates that they use to partition and like separate and close things off. People were using those as stretchers. So people were using those, like they were laying down and they were using them to carry people. There was one like kind of sitting between the side of the curb and the street. So it was sort of like a makeshift chair. And I just remember sitting on it. I don't know why. And then a bunch of people people were just like, "We need to get out of here. We need to move. We need to, because the street lights are on." We don't know. We have no concept of time at this point either. It had been quite a while since the last of the gunshots, but we decided to move. So we decided to go to the next hotel over, which was the Tropicana. And we're going to try to get an Uber to the hospital so that we can meet up with him at the hospital. That's our plan.
So what does this strip look like right now, Janny? Like, what is it looking like? Or is it empty?
It is literally blue and red lights, and that is it. Sirens, blue and red lights.
Gosh.
So blue and red lights, sirens, ambulances.
Did they lock down the hotels?
They locked down everything. We didn't know that until later.
Okay.
But we weren't on the strip at this point. We're like one block behind the strip because that's the side of the venue where the exits were. So we are on the next block. We get to the light and we make our way to the Tropicana. We kind of came up from the back side and we walked around to the front, like the main entrance, the casino hotel entrance of the Tropicana. So now we're back. We can see the strip from there and you don't see anything except for blue, and the only cars that drove by had a blue and red siren. Like, it never occurred to either of us that there's not going to be any Ubers right now.
Yeah, so like the people, they've all died down at this point. Like, what's the busyness factor? What's happening right there in that vicinity?
I don't remember seeing anybody that was disheveled like we were. I think people had kind of dispersed, and we were only one hotel from the venue, but I don't remember seeing anybody else that was like with us. But by the time we got there on foot, we saw people from the hotel coming out of the hotel, like normal people, like people that weren't covered in dirt and blood and
right.
looked like zombies. We tried to get an Uber, and I was like, I don't think there's any Ubers. Every single car is a police car. So we decided to go inside the Tropicana to get off of the strip, to get out inside. We get inside and somebody immediately says, like, we need you to come down here. It wasn't locked down. I think they were getting it ready to lock down though. So they just said, just come with us. They take us down a staircase and we're in the ugly pits of the Tropicana. Like, it is gross and ugly, mechanical brown paint. Like, it is not pretty. It is just
what do you think the goal to bring you down there was?
Well, I know they were locking everything down. They were gathering everybody into a big rooms that they had down there. Mm-hmm. We didn't know that at the time, but we went down there. Somebody led us into some caged room. It looked like a weird storage closet room with chain link fences in it. And then somebody handed us each a bottle of water. And I just remember, like, I felt like I had not seen water in 2 years. I chugged the water. They gave us more water, like, because we had been going now for, probably an hour since the shooting, maybe at this point, without water and with fear and with yelling and screaming and running. Like, we were just like, oh my gosh.
And how long were you in this room for?
Just a couple of minutes. And then they were leading us into the big room where they had collected like a lot of people. And we were on our way to that room. And we were standing outside of it and we were okay with it. We were like, whatever, we're just going to listen to these people. At least we're not at the concert anymore. Maybe we can get a hold of the hospital. Maybe we can get a ride to the hospital. Like, we were just trying to gather our thoughts. And I saw this guy get a phone call, and his face just looked like he saw a ghost. And he was like, what? Like, I just remember he looked terrified. And then he hung up the phone, and I said, what was that? And I didn't even know the guy at all, but I just knew something was wrong. And he wouldn't say anything. And I said, what was that? And he said, my girlfriend's upstairs. She said there's a shooter in this hotel. Well, we found out obviously later that news of what had happened, the game telephone, like, it changed and it morphed into, like, there was no shooter in that hotel, but we did not know that.
You didn't know.
We had no idea because we had seen that there was, like, we witnessed what had just happened. So it was horrible. It was probably the second most horrible part of that whole night, was because we were terrified for Noble because we had been separated and he had been bleeding so much and we were worried about him, but we felt physically safe for us for the first time.
Right.
Since it happened, we felt safe. And when he said that, the sickening, horrible, like, fear that just knocks the wind out of you, like, came just rushing back, because holy crap, we're in the basement of a hotel. We don't even know where the exit door is. We're like underground in some tiny hallway. It was just terrifying. And
so how long are you in this room for?
Well, we were in a hall. We weren't in the big room at that point, thank goodness, because they probably never would have let us out. And I'll tell you how we got out, because at that point, the hotel had been officially placed on lockdown. So we were still in the hallway, about to go in the room when that happened. And I saw a worker, and his name tag said Daniel. And I said, Daniel, we need to get out of here. You need to tell us how to get out of here. And he said, everybody's just going to be fine. We're going to have you all safe in this room. Like, everybody. And I'm like, no, we're not staying here. We just got out of that. We're not staying here. There's a shooter in this hotel. And he's like, no, everything's going to be fine. He was trying to do his job. I think he was like a security guard or a bellboy. I don't know. But I said, listen, I have 3 kids. She has 2 kids. We just survived what happened next door. And I'm not going to sit here just to die with no chance to get out. Like, you have to help us get out of here. And he said, follow me and don't say anything. And I said, we won't say a word. And I was like, I promise we won't tell anybody. We know you guys are trying to keep everybody calm. We won't say a word. And he said, stay behind me, follow me, don't say anything. And he led us through the room full of people. So that's how I know, like, that's where we were about to be. There was a room full of people. And all those casinos, the same thing was happening. They were all on lockdown until like 5 or 6 a.m. So we would have been stuck in that room.
Wow.
We would have been stuck in that room all night, worried and wondering. And we would have been fine, obviously, but we didn't know that. It was terrifying. So he led us through that room, I don't know, up a staircase, around a hallway. Like, we would have never found it ourselves. It was a maze. And we got up to the top of this, or the end of this hallway or whatever, with a door. And he said, when we open this door, you're going to be in the casino, and I don't know what's out there. As soon as we get out into the casino, you need to make your way to the exit very quickly. It's going to be to your right. And I said, come with us. You know you want to come with us. And he said, I can't, I got to do my job. And I said, you can't do your job if you're dead. And I remember saying that. And he was like, no, just go. Just get out of here. Just turn right and get out of here. And
so he was doing his job. Like, he legit stayed and did his job, even though he knew there was an active shooter. How dare you
try and get him out of his job, Janny?
She did the right thing. But I just think that's amazing how he stayed.
Why'd you try and get him fired, Janny?
Well, we went back exactly 1 year later, and we went to the Tropicana, and we walked our steps, and we tried to find him, and he was off that day. But I was going to go back and
tell him you were sorry for trying to get him fired. Sorry, Daniel. I almost got you fired. I tried to get you to walk out on your job.
I just tried to.
And he said, "No, Janny, I will be a hero and do my job. Yeah. Don't tell me otherwise."
Listen, Daniel that works or worked at the Tropicana. I don't know if he's still there. He was still there a year later. He was just off that day, they told me. But Daniel at the Tropicana was definitely one of the heroes of that night, at least for us, because I don't know.
Oh, I love that, Janny.
Yeah. So we opened that door, and I mean, you've seen the pictures, and I have the pictures still of what we looked like, and we did not.
I do, like? and we are gonna post those pictures.
Yeah. We looked like we were extras from The Walking Dead. Like we were.
No way.
Lauren had no shoes on.
I haven't seen them.
She had bloody, dirty socks. She had lost one of her boots, and she was wearing a little heeled boot. She lost one of them, so I think she kicked the other one off because she needed to be able to run. I had my boots on because they were zip up and they were flat, thank goodness, so I just kept mine on. And we were both just covered in asphalt and dirt on asphalt on our face, and
would you share those
blood?
Would you share those pictures with us, Janny?
Yeah, I will send those to you.
We'll put those on this. I want you to wrap this up because we have about 10. We probably less than 10 minutes. We probably have about 7 more minutes, but I'd love you to wrap it up in a pretty bow for us, if you could.
Okay. Well, I do want to share with what happened after that. Was when we really met some ladies who, at the time, I was like, is this one of those weird stories where you find out later that the people that helped you weren't real? Like maybe they were angels or they weren't even like real people. Well, they are real people. Mm-hmm. We were in contact regularly, but we ran out of there. Nobody had a clue what was happening. Like ding, 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 like on the machines, just living their life. Like no idea what was going on.
So they were just like, they didn't know anything was going on.
No, it was the weirdest thing. We walked out and then we're running towards the exit, and Lauren, in her dirty, bloody socks, she's like, take off your boots. And I thought about it, and then I was like, no, I'm going to have to stop, and it's going to take me like a good 10 to 15 seconds to sit down, unzip, pull them off. It's not like you can just kick them off. So I ignored her, and we kept running. And we ran across the parking lot. We were screaming at people not to go in. People were walking in the casino, and we're like, don't go in there. There's a shooter. Like we were just totally, we looked like 2 psychotic, zombies. But we ran behind. The next hotel was Hooters. And the alleyway, we decided we could go to the front. And there was a couple other survivors with us at that point, and we were all trying to decide like where to go. And they headed towards the front of the casino, like the strip side of Hooters. And we were like, no, we're going to stay in the shadows. We're going to the alley. Like we didn't want to be in the lights. We didn't know what was going on still, So we were like, see ya, good luck. Like we ran into the alley, and we were just going to try to go on foot and get as far from the strip as we could get. And we went behind all the dumpsters and kept walking and kept walking and kept walking. And then we get to the other side of Hooters, and there's a car out of the freaking blue that pulls up with 2 women inside. And one of them says, do you guys need a ride? And we're like, yeah. And Lauren's like, I'm covered in blood. I'm sorry. Because, Lauren, she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm covered in blood.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And just get in. And we just got in, and we're like, just just let's get away from here. And so we ended up driving all the way to Summerlin, like 35, 40 minutes away. And we stayed at a random little hotel, and we slept with the lights on, and we played Nickelodeon on TV. Like, when I say
just
that we were terrified, like, we had to take showers. Yeah, we had to take showers because we were so dirty. I stood next to Lauren when she was in the shower. Like, she didn't want me to leave the bathroom. I didn't want her to leave. Like, we turned on Nickelodeon, I think Dora or like one of those like cartoon shows, and we had it like turned up loud just because we just, I don't even know the psychology behind that, but we just wanted something comforting. And my mom, at this point, my mom had I had gotten a hold of family and told them where we were. And my mom called the hotel, and the phone rang, and we were both sitting on the bed, had already showered. We freaking lurched off the bed, probably a foot. That is how raw our senses were at that point. Just to give you an idea. And in the days and weeks that followed, that dissipated, but it started out at such a high. The next day, when we made it back to Harrah's to get our stuff, we got out of the Uber and we reunited with our Janelle and like Carly and their other friends that were there.
Yeah, you'd gone on the trip with.
We all hugged. We were all hugging, and then we were starting to walk into the doors at Harrah's, and the bellhop had like blown a whistle, like the taxi cab guy who like calls the cabs. He blew his whistle, and I jumped, and I don't know if I was is because I was embarrassed. I don't think I was embarrassed. I didn't care, but I just remember like it scared me. The noise of a freaking whistle scared me so bad, and I jumped off the sidewalk and I just burst into tears because I was like,
you were so emotionally exhausted, probably too.
Well, it's trauma and it's triggers. It like triggered her trauma.
I just remember thinking like, I'm broken now. Like, I'm not normal. I was normal yesterday at this time, and today I'm like, I'm broken. This is what I am now. And that was day 1. So now we're on day 365 times 5, and that is not me anymore. But
yeah, so tell us where you're at now.
Is Noble
Janny
okay though? Noble's okay and everything, right? Like you guys got him from the hospital.
Noble is
okay.
Yes. He had several surgeries, and he may be having another one 5 years later. I don't know yet what they've decided on that, but
so tell us where you are at now, Janny.
Well, we are approaching our 5-year anniversary, and that's such a weird word because it's like anniversary, but that's what it is. It's it's not like it's a celebration, but it's a celebration of.
It kind of is in a way. It's the day. Yeah. It's the day you could have you
made it through that. You made it through that.
So it's like, yeah, it's an anniversary to celebrate, but it's also honoring the people
right
that didn't move forward from that day, right?
Well, something really big for me from the very beginning. The beginning of the aftermath, I will say, was the survivor's guilt and getting past all of that. Like, why am I here? Why did that? You follow the stories of the people that didn't make it, and you start to feel like you know them, and why did she not, all of those things. So one of the things that was so big for me was making the most of my life because I got to stay.
Yeah.
Love that. Wow.
I love that, Janny.
So I am now a wine bar and restaurant owner.
And can you tell us where your business is located and what it's called and what your mission or vision and everything is with it?
It is called the Vault Wine Bar and Grill in Atoka, Oklahoma, which is a tiny, tiny little town that you're going to have to zoom way in on a map to find. But we're about an hour north of the Texas border, in the middle of the bottom of Oklahoma, basically. Okay. So about 2.5 hours from Dallas. And, I just wanted to make an impact. And already we've only been open for 9.5, 10 months.
Wow.
And I know we've already done that. We have stamped already a regular live music and just the culture. We have been dubbed by many people the Cheers of Atoka, because it is like it is like Cheers in here, and we have a good time. But music is such a big deal to me, and it is so healing.
It is a big deal. Like when Janny's in town, we are going karaoke, and there ain't no way around that.
And we karaoke every Thursday night. It's my favorite night of the week, and so next week for the 5-year anniversary, I'm not going to be in Vegas with so many others for that, but I decided that I was going to host a music benefit here in our tiny little town, in our tiny little place. So we are doing a music benefit, and we have several very talented local musicians. We have Susie McIntyre, who is Reba McIntyre's sister.
Wow.
Who is a gospel and Christian music artist, and she's going to be singing in here, and we're doing a silent auction, and the proceeds of this are going to Brian Allers and his children, and Hannah, and the hashtag for her is Cheers to Hannah. And she was killed, I'm assuming one of the very first people, because she was standing only about 3 or 4 people behind us when the shooting started. And we know that because of pictures that were found in the months that followed. There's a picture with my face, and she's in the background with Brian. And the picture was at 9:58 p.m. 4 to 5 minutes before the shooting started. So we know that she was right behind us. And, you know, there's 58 people that passed away that night, but there's something about her that just always tugged at my heart. So,
yeah, it was so close, right?
And I don't get that emotional talking about it anymore, but
it's okay, Jan.
But talking about the people, you know, they can't talk about it because they're not here. So talking about the people is what gets me.
Yeah.
You know, so, but anyway.
I love it, Janny.
That is my story.
And you know what I love about just the fact that you have the wine bars. Lauren and I were out there a year ago and talking about when we were all sitting together talking about this idea of a wine bar after we had visited the one next to Blake Sheldon's, about 45 minutes from your house. And you were talking about how great it would be to have that sort of a wine bar vibe in Atoka. And we were sitting there talking about all the good things, and then boom, Janny was on it. A month later, she had shit coming into place, and it was about to go down. And here we are now. It's open. Yeah, and it's thriving.
You and Lauren were like, "You should open this in Atoka," and I was like, "Yeah, no, somebody else should, and I'll just go there and drink wine."
And we're like, "No, you." And now look, it's like your perfect vibe. It's your perfect jam. My little social butterfly. I'm so proud of you.
Yes. I don't really I don't really take a lot of time to think things out. I just okay,
you just fly in. You're like, this is going to work out.
I'm just going to do that, and then it'll work because I'm going to do it. So that's just kind of...
Oh, I'm so proud of you, Janny.
Much. I love you so much. Thank you so much for giving us.
Me.
And if you could give our audience just do you have like a life motto? Do you have something you can give our peeps? What can you give us?
That you live by?
You know, I would just say something that got me over the hump, which was probably about 3 to 4 weeks after I got home, which was the moniker that I probably think most people have heard, but it's fear, false evidence appearing real. And actually it was the At Work CEO that he doesn't know me and he doesn't know this story, but I heard a video, and I was in kind of a hole.
He does know you. You have a picture with them.
Well, yeah, but he has a picture with everybody. But I remember watching a video, and it was just one of those things that I needed to hear when I needed to hear it, and it stayed with me. And he was talking about fear, and you can fear everything and run, or face everything and rise. So I would say my motto would be to face everything and rise.
I love it.
That.
I love it.
Yeah,
Janny.
girl. Face it, boo. You got to face it. I love you so much.
Well,
thank you for joining us on My Anonymous Friend. And we're going to keep in touch.
You always tell the best stories, Janny, and you're so detailed, and I appreciate you being so vulnerable, telling your story, sharing it, helping others out there who are still, struggling with that, and
they're in the midst
making
of
an
their
impact
shit.
for people. You have such a good soul and such a good heart. You're an amazing person, Janny. We're proud of you.
Well, thank you. I'm proud of both of you, and I can't wait to see where this goes.
Oh, thank you. And I can't wait to visit your business. Everybody needs to check out the vault, and they need to eat the charcuterie boards. Charcuterie boards.
Yeah, say that again.
The people around here don't know how to say it. They call them
charcuterie.
Charcuterie boards.
Say that again, Janny?
The people around here call them charcuterie boards because they don't know how to say it, but it's fine.
That's what judges call
No,
it.
I said because I copied you.
I did not say
so that just came up in my mind.
And
yes.
Not all the people around here. So if someone ends up listening to this, but lots of people.
Charcuterie.
Damn it! I just want a board with cheese and meat, okay? And nuts.
It's called charcuterie.
It's a fancy Lunchable, and it sounds French.
I want nuts. That's what I want.
Yeah.
Tammy wants ice. Look we're still. What are you doing?
That's what he
You're
said.
a nut.
You look like a nut.
This is all going to be cut out.
How do you know? This is a fun part.
This is going to be cut. It might be used as a reel.
Oh, my ears. This is hurting my ears.
Janny, I love you.
You were too much. I love you both.
Oh.